Hello everybody and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about artist block, something that's been haunting me for the last week or so here. And I'd like to talk about a couple ways that you can help combat it. One of the ways that is a thing that I like to do, which is just grab a piece of sketch paper or a piece of scrap paper and just fill it up. Draw a bunch of things, put pictures on tops of pictures, it doesn't matter. It's kind of like getting rid of all the bad lines, getting rid of all the bad ideas, and just do it all at once. Just keep going, push through it, kind of fight through it. That sometimes works. Sometimes it helps me get through ideas. Sometimes it helps you land on a cool idea, almost like a thumbnail, and you can work off of that. That did nothing for me this time around. So I fell back on one of my go-tos, which is the find something that gave me inspiration before, a piece that I did in the past that I would have fun and think that maybe I could improve upon it, and basically just get the idea on paper as quick as possible so I could do what I really wanted to do, which is mindlessly color something for an extended period of time. Now, that being said, I spent 9.5 hours on this. This is a piece that I did back in 2016 that I titled "But It's So Shiny." It was the first piece that I dropped for Inktober 2016, and it kind of gave me all the ideas for the remainder of the month too. I kind of made everything kind of this weird theme of like bad scenarios that people were stuck in. In this one, it's like a underwater nautical kind of anglerfish monster, and someone being a little too distracted by the lure. I've always been a fan of those cool old school nautical designs, and it made sense to do this. But the whole point was to grab something, get it on paper quickly. I could take the time to make the fixes I wanted to do, and I just didn't have to worry about trying to get something on paper and have to worry about focusing on the idea stage. I wanted to just get into that Zen painting mindless mode, that meditation, to just kind of get out of the world for a little bit and just focus on the art making part of it. And like I said, I've been really working on trying to get better with gouache paints and just painting in general, and it was the fastest way I could get to that point. I'm actually very happy with how this version came out, but like with everything, there's plenty of little things I want to tweak. I feel like no piece that you work on is ever completely done. You just finally get to a point where you're like, that's good enough. Before it gets on a wall, I'm sure there's like 5 or 6 more little things I'm going to be doing. I'm looking at it right now, all finished, and I can already see like 5, 6, maybe a little bit more than that, things that I'm going to do to just improve and tweak before it gets matted and put on the wall in my office. But yeah, I feel like I learned a lot. As you can see, the thing I learned from the last painting with Pennywise was that it's with my color mixing set of whole beans, it's really hard to mix the exact same color and go back into something. So I made it a point to focus on little areas at a time and make sure I had the colors all mixed up. If it was supposed to be the same color in 2 different spots, I would do both of those 2 spots at the same time. One thing that you guys might notice that I have not gotten figured out yet is that when you're working with a paint or a wet medium like this and you're right-handed, you should probably not do the right side of things first, because then you have to wait for things to dry. It's a dumb thing that I just have not figured out yet for some reason. I like to jump around a lot when I'm working on something, and I'm trying to be more methodical and actually figure out exactly what it is I need to do while I'm doing it, because I forget those kinds of things. I'm a little flighty when it comes to that. The main difference between this new version of the piece, which is actually the 3rd version, I did color this like after Inktober that year, and it was actually also with gouaches, but it was with my original set of Turner acryl gouaches. So they're like more acrylic, they dry and they're permanent, they're not reactivatable like designer gouaches are. And it was cool, but it was also my like first step into that kind of painting world, and it's not very detailed, it's very flat, and I knew I needed to add contrast. I knew I needed to do a lot of different things. I bulked up this the diver here a little bit because he was just really scrawny. It was very cartoony in the beginning. It's very cartoony still, but I wanted it to have a little bit more weight and like depth to the character. But I went through and I really just wanted to add a lot of that contrast. And looking at it now, there's a lot more contrast I could have added. But like I just said before, a lot of times a project is not finished until you finally just say that's good enough. And I definitely hit that point with this one. I could go in for sure and add more contrast. I could add more shadows on the helmet itself, and and make it more depth, because there's only one light source, so it's pretty easy to tell where the shadows are coming from. But I also don't want it to get too dark so you can't see the main piece of it. For those of you who are a little bit more eagle-eyed, you may have noticed that I was pretty inspired by the poster for The Thing by Drew Struzan, which is also just one of the coolest stories out there. The artist is incredible anyway. Like, he's basically made the cover for like every good movie that's come out in the last 40 years. And but this one in particular, he did it in like, I think it's like less than 24 hours. He found out that they needed it. He worked on it that whole night, and when he handed it to them, it was still drying, so it actually stuck to the glass when they were taking pictures of it. It's one of the funniest stories, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art. It's a poster that I really, really would love to have on my wall that I just have not picked up yet. But I was very inspired by that. So it has, instead of it being like the light source coming from the parka, it's a light source coming from the lure of the anglerfish. And it's kind of cool to have a light source that is in your piece already. It defines a lot of the rules right off the bat for where your shadows should go and where you should play with it. I plan on doing a lot more of that in the future too, just to, like I said, it takes away a part of that process of trying to figure out what you're going to do. If the lighting is already dictated by something in the piece, it makes it really easy to just power through and go for it. All in all, I'm very happy with how this piece came out, or just in general of how much I feel like I've improved it. There's still a lot I'd like to learn, and who knows, maybe a few years from now I'll go back and redo it again, or better yet, make a story out of it and actually use this for something cool. I'm hoping that I've gotten over the hump of the artist block and that I can try to pull in something new, but at the same time, the goal was really just to get out of my own head for a little bit. And like I said, like, get that like meditation going, and get the ideas on the paper, get to making something and creating something. And for that, I was definitely successful. I feel like 9.5 hours break from the world was definitely much needed. And I'm starting to feel more and more confident with these gouache paints. I definitely feel like, because I've learned a bit with them, I can start making like an order of operations of how best to use them in the future, and that in itself was worth everything. It was like, really, all in all, I think this is like, with gouache paints, I think I can count like on my hand how many that I've made. It's probably like only like 5 or 6 paintings, and I definitely feel like I'm a lot more confident with them in general. I also have a couple of sets of acrylic gouaches that I'd like to use more of, just to get used to the opposite side of that. So it's more of a permanent, when you lay something down, it's down as that color. You can obviously still paint over it, but it stays solid. It's a lot more just like by using it is by definition acrylic paint, so it's just different. All in all, though, I feel like it came out pretty good. Like I said, there's going to be some tweaks in the future. I'll probably post this on Instagram also, and see how people like this improvement. If you'd like to check out the older pieces of it, you can go onto my Instagram and check those out now. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit like and subscribe for future content. Got an idea for what you'd like to see in future videos? Leave your suggestions in the comments below. You can also follow me on other platforms such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to stay sane out there, and I'll see you in the next one.